What does it mean to embrace technology?
Well,
Or feel free to use a different
sure.
word.
I think what I mean is when a problem arises, like how do we 10x, instead of going, we need more people, they should go, we need more technology. Like instead of defaulting to, oh crap, we're going to need to get 5 more people to run all these ad campaigns just because the volume is going to be so high. I rather than go, oh, that's no problem. Our robot or our technology robot or our automation robot automatically stands up those campaigns when the event gets added to our website or whatever.
Yeah, but that robot is going to cost like $30,000 to build or whatever, right? People are not that expensive. You can hire a person for like $12 an hour, or on Mechanical Turk like $1 if it's a micro task. So
yeah, but
like, is it?
I don't think digital marketers are $12 an hour. Anyways, the point is that
Actually, wait. Why not though? Isn't the price? Is it, like when you think about it, isn't like what the average rate for a job function kind of an indicator of how hard or easy it is to automate?
I don't think so, because there's a lot of going outside of this. You've got people that interpret X-rays, and those are high-paid jobs, and they're getting replaced from
Are they being replaced though? Like, because like I've automated a lot of things over the last 5 years for sure. Not a single person ever has been fired or let go because like I've probably automated away probably well over 100 jobs. Nobody's ever been fired because those, like, it's the ATM example, right? When ATMs came out, all those people who used to be bank tellers started selling financial services. Like I don't buy that, like, automation is taking jobs away, or that, like, these poor doctors now can't,
I don't think
I just haven't seen that.
I feel like we're going down a really rabbit hole here.
Yeah, we are.
I feel like we're at the beginnings of this problem, and in the end, there will be a job for everyone, because a bunch of idle hands is not in the best interest of the country. And
where the job's gonna, I guess,
they will come up somewhere else. I mean, what was it when they built the interstate system? Like, I forget what it was, but there was like these I don't know. There were these government projects where
right
they didn't want to use heavy equipment because it would help the job move along too quickly.
Oh God, that sounds like the opposite of what I would want to be around ever.
Well, that's my point, though.
That does kind of sound like the.
Yeah, sure. But my point is that I don't think that we'll ever get to a point where there aren't jobs for people, even if they are replaced. I hope that
where there aren't jobs.
Correct.
Yeah. That's my point as well. Like, I don't think like it's even getting closer to that.
But
like we keep coming up with new crap.
Sure, but in the person who's interpreting an X-ray, that job may go away, and that person might do something else, and that's my point. Like,
but he's gonna probably do something else in the same very close. Like he's.
I don't know. The big conversation right now after COVID is people switching industries. So that X-ray person.
I don't think it's because of automation though.
Okay.
Well, it could be, but just okay. So from what I've seen is whenever you automate something, the same people who were like there before in that team, they still stay there. You just basically saved a bunch of their time.
Yes.
And now they work on the creative, innovative stuff that you
I think
can't
the devil's
automate.
in the details, though.
Mm-hmm.
For some jobs that works, and others it doesn't.
I guess I only work with software companies, so I don't.
So I think in the case of Disco Donnie Presents, the person who is standing up these campaigns, instead of managing 30 or 40 events, they can manage 200 or 1,000 events.
Right.
And that's my point.
And they can. Well, what's interesting about that is when you start doing that, you also kind of zoom out, and you as a person, you're no longer doing this busy work. You can actually now look at things from a different perspective, different altitude or whatever, that nobody else is probably looking at this stuff from.
Well, they couldn't before because they were too busy doing the mundane stuff.
Yeah. So like I don't know. To me, it's simple. I think automation is all about the people. It's basically getting people to. Sorry, I know I was asking you a question, but I'll tell you what I think.
Everybody's got their own opinion on it. It's like talking about Bitcoin.
I think, I don't know what automation really means. But I think it's pretty simple. Like, if you have people doing things that could be basically streamlined to, free up their time. If you don't do that, you will be beat by a competitor that does.
Sure.
Like, it's that simple to me.
I can give you an example, like a very simple example. So with DDP, Disco Donnie Presents, if they are not using their own ticketing provider, like a lot of venues, you have to use their ticketing provider. So all that ticketing information after the event needs to be requested. Like, hey, can you send me a list of all the people who bought the tickets? Because we want to continue marketing to them so that they'll buy tickets to the next event. Well, before that had to be requested manually. So guess what happens? It doesn't happen.
Exactly. Like,
they forget to follow
people
up.
don't do it.
Yeah.
It's
we built a little thing that just, we have all the events. We know where the ticketing is. If the ticketing is not with DDP, we send the request and we know who to email because we have contacts for the venue. We have contacts with the local partner, and we CC DDP on the email, and it says, hey, the event is now over. We do it 2 days after the event, so they're not getting bombarded the day after the event. Just send us the list. And they reply, attach it, and then the marketing person goes and uploads it to their tools. Another part that should be automated.
Yeah. But like what's it's really interesting about that is I actually
and there's a million of those examples.
Right. Yeah. And I spend pretty much all day thinking about that. Although I'm thinking within one company, but I'm thinking really aggressively. But one thing I noticed
seems aggressive.
Yeah, exactly. Seems very interesting is that basically if you put people into boxes, they will stay in those boxes. Like if you put people into departments and tell them this is a department, like just naturally they're going to stay there. Like they're not going to, like, I don't know what it is. It's really, really weird. But I mean, you see this, I saw this in the military as well, but like put people into little groups, they basically stay there, which is really, really bad if you're trying to, make money as an organization and you need to have your kind of like what you do as a company kind of shift. Because once you put those people into like boxes / departments, it's Conway's law in practice. You basically just lock things in. It's like basically, what's the equivalent? You made it read only. Like basically, once you put people like, well, it's the same thing you see with the government, right? Bureaucracies just self-perpetuate, right? They don't, become more efficient. I guess my point is, if you're going to put people into boxes by the departments,
I think that they will do that naturally if you take away the mundane shit that they have to do. Mundane shit can be automated, frees up their time to think more creatively, better contribute to the mission of the company. They will naturally, it just like turns on a light or something. They'll naturally get more involved. They'll take more ownership.
Yeah, I think there's actually, you're talking about utilization, basically. Like whenever you have, a station or a person that is basically reaching like over 80% of their capacity, like they're just basically working all the time, reaching the kind of like the max, basically the lead time, how long things take, basically grow exponentially. So it's very dangerous to basically have your business units or people or groups nearing capacity what they can produce, because that basically traverses through the rest of the organization, and then the day things either take too long or like in that example they just don't do it because it's just I don't know. What do you think?
They wouldn't know that they didn't do it because they're too busy with the mundane things.
Yeah, right.
It's like I don't know. It's just clogs the system.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those.
Yeah, it's always. You could have always automated things before. It's been around forever, right? Like everything, like automation. Like I don't even know what that means. You basically.
I don't know if it's always been around. At least.
Well, let's say Industrial Revolution forward.
Sure.
But even before that, look. If we're gonna,
for example, like Internet of Things is just now coming online. Like Wi-Fi 6 is coming online.
Forget the Internet of Things. I'm talking like when the Egyptians built the pyramids, right? They moved those things around by putting them onto logs that would roll or something like that.
Yep.
Is that automation? Because I think it is.
I don't know. Are you saying every tool is automation?
I really don't know what automation. Like I specialize in automation. I don't know what it means anymore. To me, it's just like it doesn't mean anything. It's basically what it means is, in practical terms, is you don't waste people's time doing monotonous shit that a bot can do.
Sure.
That's it. Like, but it's like, I don't know where automation ends and human decision begins. Because honestly, like in a sophisticated system like Transact has, I mean, people are a part of the automation, right?
Yep.
You know, automation will.
Yeah, they're part of the supply
there's
chain.
there's basically some processes happening all the time. I guess supply chain, yeah. I guess you know what it is.
What do they call those things where it's like you push the domino and then like these things can happen consecutively?
Domino
Like,
effect.
I don't know. No, it's like it's not a puzzle. There's a name for it where like, you know, it turns on the fan and that blows the you know, the kite over and that touches a bowling
There's
ball.
a great one where like it doesn't work very well. It says, but
Anyways, like that machine has a name. It's almost kind of like what process automation is. And that's what I'm trying to describe
ooh,
to,
I like that.
yeah. What
Like,
is the name of
there's
that
like
thing?
I don't know, but there's like a momentum
Pull that up, Jamie.
that's maintained, right?
Yeah, no, it's like I don't know, like the process is pre-planned out and it requires the previous thing to finish its job before the next one starts.
Yeah, like I don't know, momentum right away
Yeah.
stuck out in my head because like that's interesting because yeah, if you have momentum, it basically means like once you lose momentum, that means you basically have a bottleneck somewhere or something. Like, because why would you ever lose momentum? Why would you ever stop? Well, then again, because you also don't always necessarily want to be faster. Like, for example, building that relationship with a customer or whatever, like you don't really want to. How would you streamline that? Like, you kind of can't.
I don't, yeah. And I think it's part art, you know, it's like, it's kind of like a.
Although you could. Like, for example, instead of sending them emails, you could send them videos, like Storyboard does, right?
Sure.
Or instead of yeah, I guess you could. It's just, I don't know. It's like you got to have an elegance to it. You got to remember what the point of automation is. Like, I think it's very dangerous to automate because you're trying to save money.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I mean, you can do it.
I think
but
ultimately it will make you do your job better.
yeah, I mean, it will, like, according to my numbers, it'll make you 7 times more effective, at least from 7 to 10.
And that might vary from company to company. Like, I think with DDP, 10x or more, because that's what they need.
Yeah, but the problem is, like, you can find that number. Like, if we build this thing for $50,000, it's going to make us X much faster. Great, but what is it? What's the value of that?
The value is, at least for them, it'll allow them to do more events.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, higher turnover, right?
More events. You know, they went from 100 to 200. Nothing changed technology-wise, but they hired like 5 or 6 more people, and they're like a 10-person group. I mean, it's much, you know, like
Disco Donnie's only 10 people.
No, that's not true.
There's like 40 last time I said.
No, well, we run their email system, so we have a pretty good head count.
You're talking about like the leadership of the company, right? Because there's a bunch of like kind of.
No, the leadership, you know, it's a handful, but like the people who are, you know, who are promoting the events, that are building the events, make them happen. That team is growing, and then it has to grow if they're not embracing technology.
Yeah, stop saying embracing technology. I still don't understand what you mean by that. But
again, I think it's like you got.
Okay, how do you quantify embracing?
You got technology or more people? At some point, even with technology, you'll hit a point you'll still need more people.
See, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's more than that. I feel like really it's people plus technology in the right combination, right?
Yeah, totally. And they haven't. I think that there's more to be done on the technology side. We need to augment their humans more.
All right. I have one last question. It's a big one. How do you know how much to improve? How do you know how much to invest into process improvement? Like, is it 20% of your revenue? Is it like 5%? Is it 50? Like, what advice would you give to businesses, you know, basically kind of working with a bunch of businesses? Like, how would you help them, like, figure out basically how much should an average company invest into themselves? Into improving themselves, the way they do things.
That's a great idea, great question, and I have no idea. But I think
the answer is 31%. There probably is an answer, but
it's like that computer from what's that movie or that book?
It's like a 47 or something.
Yeah,
the answer. Okay,
the answer to all things in all life.
But no, but is it
Hitchhiker's Guide to the
I mean, there's
Galaxy.
got to be a range, right? Like
Sure, yeah, but I don't know. Like in my experience. At least when you're first getting started, you know, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit. that doesn't cost a lot of money. It doesn't cost a lot of time.
What's your burn rate, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Like
When a
the
startup
example
starts
with
out, yeah, they're
the
investing
example
all
of
into themselves.
sure, yeah. I mean, example with DDP, that little automation where we go ask for the data, that took a day. That's like nothing, and the value of that data that they were losing before is a lot because the person who bought that ticket might buy 30 more tickets into the future. But since they didn't get that person, they lost all that revenue. And all they had to do was implement that little piece of automation that put them in that database. And you do that 100 events a year that they were doing. Now they're at 200. So that automation that we put in place cost them, I don't know, a day of developers' time. Has probably made them, I don't know, $1 million over the course of 10 years. I don't know.
Yeah, but like it's not just the engineering time, right? Like how would they have known to do that?
Yeah.
There's like a weird, there's like almost like like an ongoing, like,
Yeah, but you could say that that's, what do you call it? Sunk cost, like the cost of having UDX embedded and working with you. Like that idea to build that automation for them was kind of like it just came up because of me being embedded and helping them run their operation.
So it seems like they should almost, here's the way your clients could look at this based on how much money they spend with UDX. They should expect X many innovative ideas back from you per year.
Sure. And that's kind of where we go at when we say we're a partner. You know, that's kind of like that's the benefits of working with us. You know, we're not a McDonald's. Ultimately, we're a consulting company that does software. And so it's friends with benefits. Those are the little things you get. And sometimes they're really big. That example has happened many times with DDP and many times with other clients. Some are worth more than others, but ultimately they all help them run their business better and make more money.
Since, what Transact is doing with, Max, Dmitry, Anton team, the UDX team is basically all automation. I mean, those guys are like but that's why I hate calling it automation.
This? So one of the theories I have is when you get so far down that pipeline of automating things, again, it's going to free up time who's doing the actual work. Those people that are doing the actual work know that work better than anyone else. They're going to start they're going to start changing the way they think. They're going to be like, why don't we automate this? So that I'm the one that's probably identifying all the obvious stuff. But ultimately, it's going to get to the point where they're going to want to, their ideas are going to start surfacing that's going to really push the needle.
But doesn't that kind of create a new bottleneck? If the solution to everything is just to automate more things, didn't you just create a new bottleneck because you have to go to these people? Like, not that many people are good at automating.
I don't think everything can be automated. I mean, there's a lot of human decisions that have to be made.
I'm just saying, like, perhaps there's one of the things that we're trying to do is basically, I hate empower, but we're basically trying to always kind of think about, all right, so how do we not become the bottleneck? So like, in a way we do that, frankly, is just we give people data. It's a good way to get people to start automating, kind of not having to involve an automation engineer whenever they want to innovate. Is one of the ways to do that is basically give them the data, give them the tools to kind of do it themselves, which sounds obvious, but basically you don't want to become a bottleneck. Well, at least in our case, with Transact, I don't want to create a new bottleneck because my job is to eliminate bottlenecks. And I just noticed that if you have a team that does all the automation, you could inherently become the bottleneck if you don't if you don't make the process more democratic.
That might be a good problem to have because it might be a signal that the company's way of thinking is changing and they're starting to think about how can we be more efficient, which will require more automation. So maybe the automation team needs to grow.
And we still haven't defined automation. Maybe next time.
Do you agree, though?
Which part?
That the people that are experiencing the empowerment, that are living the result of the automation, it will change their way of thinking, and then they will start bringing ideas to your attention.
Oh yeah, I'm literally betting on that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's also what I've seen happen every time.
So by nature of that, it's going to increase the workload of the people that implement the automation. But that's good.
I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I feel like you can't, like, you gotta. How do you know when to stop automating? Like, you
Don't.
can't. You just keep going forever.
Yeah, why not?
Well, because it gets more expensive, and you reach a point of diminishing returns. Like,
Sure.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying in general. I'm just saying, like,
I
when
mean,
do you-
everything. I'm kind of like, yeah, that's the baseline. Like in the end, there's people that are paying attention to the costs, and decisions will be made. I don't know. That's kind of what I was getting at about low hanging fruit. At what point does the low hanging fruit dry out? Well, the next layer are the people that are benefiting from the automation are going to start bringing out probably ideas that are more complex.
Yeah.
And then once those are all dried up, what's next? You know, you're gonna. I don't know. It might take a long time to get there, and by the time you get there, maybe the business has changed or pivoted, and you,
Right,
you got a whole
start
new
over-
slew
you
of
gotta start
things
over
to
again.
automate. You know,
You gotta now. The cloud is old. Now it's all blockchain. You gotta,
yeah, and that's that's all about not being a stagnant company. Maybe at that point, like once you become so good at that, the business expands in scope to do other things, because you got a lot of idle time on people, or you fire people, right?
See, I think a great example is Amazon. As they say, nobody scales like Amazon. Like, maybe it's not automation, maybe it's scale. Maybe that's the right word to use, because automation lets you scale. Like, just it seems like automation in itself is like, what's the point of just automating things? Like, let's automate that chair to spin.
Become
but who
more
cares?
profitable.
Well, just things don't become more profitable just by the nature of being automated.
Sure, it can.
It
I
can.
think that's a direct result of automating things. Is you become more efficient, faster, so you can increase your volume.
Exactly, increase the volume. But if, like in the case of Disco Dining,
And
they
if the
just
volume
do
is
more
not,
events.
yeah. And if the volume is not leading to more money, then what are you doing?
Well, exactly. So I guess you basically, it's not so much the automation. It's like, how does it affect your actual top line?
Throughput.
I guess. Throughput. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like the automation is not the one that's generating the money. It's increasing the profitability.
It's letting you basically run more stuff through your factory faster.
Yeah. So
Take more orders.
yeah, you can like reduce your costs, which ultimately is what automation does.
Really?
Yeah, I think over time, like the example with DDP. And again, this is just a simple example that everybody can understand. They go request that, that ticketing data that is making them potentially an infinite amount of money, because that person that was captured is going to continue buying tickets into the future. And the only reason why they know to buy tickets is because they're receiving that marketing email to say, hey, Skrillex is coming to town or whatever. So, and I feel like this is kind of like a really key part of it is the sooner you get the automation in place, the faster you recoup your money and the more money you will make because of it. Because in that example of that person, because they were captured, added to the database, they will now theoretically go to events until they die. So the sooner we did that, the sooner we can make that money. Does that make sense?
It does, but how do you compare that example to like 100 other things you could automate?
Sure.
I guess.
I feel like anything that you're automating now is something that is going to be repeated many, many, many times over.
Scale.
Yeah. So the sooner you do it, the better, right?
Well, only if you can actually scale, right? Like if
you're saving 25 cents per instance that runs through your automation, the faster you put that automation in place, the more of those little 25 cents you'll make.
Right, but only if you automated what was your biggest bottleneck. Because if you have another bottleneck, like you just can't get more customers to even make your orders, then you just automated and waste a bunch of time automating not your biggest bottleneck. So
Sure.
It's just a kind of a rule of thumb.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's like a higher level decision-making process about, determining the order of things that you automate. Some are low-hanging fruit. Some are, big problems.
But to determine the order, you basically have to map out like these core processes that exist,
sure.
right?
Yep.
So, and that's where we've gone full circle now. So
Yeah. And you do that by being embedded.
can you do it for yourself?
Like my personal self, like
I
how
mean,
I
like
how I get dressed.
you as a corporation, can companies basically self-improve systematically?
Yeah,
Or do
I
they
think
have to have
they
outside
can,
help?
but it's I think it's difficult.
Yeah. It seems like it is, right? It seems like what does McKinsey do? Like it seems like
Well, that's their whole
yeah.
business model is they help other companies solve problems.
Mhm.
It's what we do,
I
just on a
guess,
smaller
yeah.
scale.
That's pretty much what the whole B2B industry is.
Yeah.
It's helping other people solve problems in a specialized way. All right, so I'll let you have the last word, and I'm gonna say what I think artificial intelligence is, and tell me if what you think. But I really am convinced that like what people think like artificial intelligence is, which is like this self-thinking computer like Skynet,
General AI.
right? Became self-aware. Like, well, first of all, we're nowhere near that. Like, we're just like we can recognize objects in a photo better, but like we're nowhere near a computer being able to um, basically make a judgment call that isn't based on historical data. Like, it will only be able to predict things that happened before because machine learning is all based on historical data, basically, more or less. Like, it's not going to be able to think outside little box. But more importantly, like long before, like maybe one day we'll have general AI or Skynet. But the thing is, long before getting there, like the value we get just from automating the processes that currently exist, and not so much focusing on making a computer that knows everything, but just giving the actual humans, additional intelligence. And it could be as simple as basically just tell the people something they don't already know. So in that sense, I kind of think that like basically any business system is in a way artificial intelligence, as long as it tells you something that you didn't know before.
Sure.
That's what I think AI is. And like we should just basically roll with that. And of course, like then basically the line between AI and like automation, I think is basically non-existent in practice, from the perspective of making money and competing.
Sure.
What do you think?
Sure, I agree in a general sense. I mean, that's kind of the whole Neuralink. You understand that that tool that Elon's working on? It's all about improving the throughput of a person. And before we get to implanting our brains with computers, I think that's where you and I are involved, which is developing tools and automations that enhance a person's capability. Giving them the information at the right time, just in time information.
There you go.
Maybe
That's
I
what
just
I was looking for.
did I just coin that? Just in time information, and giving them options based on historical outcomes,
And doing so proactively,
Yeah,
right? Like,
for sure.
yeah, I think that's basically it. How you build those types of systems is a whole nother discussion.
Well,
But
it differs from situation to situation. Like what Transact experiences is different than what Energy and C experiences. What Energy and C experiences is different than Disco Donnie Presents. I mean, but I feel like the underlying problems are all basically the same. It's just like the data that they're working with is different.
yeah, no, exactly. So Transact's been contracting UDX for 6 or 7 months now. And it's been phenomenal. So I want to thank you for
been great.
providing us with basically your top top engineering for the last 6 months. It's been making a pretty noticeable and measurable impact. And one of the reasons I'm having all these this topic is interesting to me is because it's basically once you automate like all the lower hanging fruit, which those guys knocked out, you basically get to a point where you need to actually measure that you're doing the right thing going forward. You have this fear of just like perpetually automating things and just spinning your wheels.
Sure.
So it
Automate to automate.
Yeah, it gets more complicated the more efficient you're trying to become, right? So, but the good thing is, everything being in the cloud, we can measure and collect everything. So, but yeah, those guys have been great. So, I don't know. I guess you got them a new office, so they've been rewarded, right?
Yeah. They have ping pong table. They have fish tank. They have there's a barbecue. I mean, it's like it's great. It's like a Silicon Valley episode over there.
Yeah. No, it's been great.
They're really happy.
Yeah, they hit the ground running right away, and it's been it's kind of weird contracting a company that you're a co-founder in, but I've really enjoyed the experience. So it's been great. So I guess hopefully we'll keep this going for now.
Well, and I think that wraps up this conversation on automation, artificial intelligence. You want to throw in some more buzzwords?
Entrepreneurship.
Oh, wow. Catch us on the next one.